Hello everyone, I'm Lorraine Driscoll and welcome to another episode of Building Better Brains. So today I'm going to talk all about letter reversals and what that can mean for your child, because that's often a big area of concern when it comes to reading. So before I dive into what causes reversals and what are signs to watch for, I want to first off start by telling you a story. A few years ago, a 12-year-old boy said to me, after we had done a corrective visual therapy in conjunction with Orange Neuroscience's reading therapy, he said he thought that it was normal for the words to be moving around on the page. So for years prior to this therapy, his mom would ask him if the words reversed or moved, and he always said no, his eyes were totally fine, because that was all he ever had known. Another student told me that he's glad the words don't change shapes or blur anymore. None of these children complained to their parents or teachers about this before the reading therapy because that was the only world that they knew. That was their normal. So letter reversals are the classic sign of a reading disorder, even though a much larger percentage of struggling readers and dyslexics don't reverse at all. In fact, only about 20% of dyslexic reader or dyslexic people do reversals with their letters. Either way, it can be seriously concerning if you're noticing your child is doing this. So reversals are not uncommon as children learn to read and write, so don't freak out if your child does them occasionally. But it can also be a sign of an underlying reading disorder and can even cause problems with attention. So while some amount of reversals is normal, particularly before the age of 7, it should not become a major obstacle in your child's ability to read and to read well, and it should disappear around the age of 7. So getting your child screened for poor visual processing is recommended if your child's letter reversals extend far beyond what is typical. Before I go into the typical signs of a child who has weak visual processing, let me first briefly explain what visual processing is, or what weak visual processing is. So weak visual processing means the brain has difficulty making sense of the information that is being received through the eyes. This can impact the ability to read, the ability to focus, and to learn in all subjects. So up to about 20% of children have a reading disorder, and often a weak visual system does play a role. Parents often tell me that they've taken their child for a vision test and their child has 20/20 vision, there's no problems. But what's important to know is that a standard vision test checks for problems like nearsightedness and farsightedness. To read fluently, your child's eyes need to be able to scan smoothly from left to right. They need to be able to work top to bottom. They need to be able to converge and diverge, meaning moving in and out together, and to move effortlessly and automatically from one target to another. So meaning from like one line or one paragraph to the next. And often kids will lose their space if this is not strong. So the confusion lies when we think that vision only occurs in the eye. Vision is processed not just through the eyes, but in the brain as well. And this is known as visual processing. Everything from visual memory, eye movements, to processing symbols, as well as depth perception, are part of visual processing. Problems with any of these areas can lead to a child doing poorly in school and even being diagnosed with a learning disability or dyslexia, as if it's some challenge that can't be corrected, when in fact poor visual processing may be the problem and can very much be corrected. The other factor that affects visual processing is the vestibular system, or your sense of balance. Same thing, right? This has a significant role in reading and writing that extends far beyond your child being able to stand upright or not falling over or being able to balance on one leg. So if your child has a weak vestibular system, then not only will their balance and coordination be affected, but their ability to read fluently, because the vestibular system works in conjunction with the visual system. So if the vestibular system is underdeveloped, then your child may complain that the words or letters move, that they're backwards, that they appear double, because their vestibular system is not able to do its job and is not allowing their eyes to stay focused on target. It's literally, and I'm not even trying to sound funny when I say this, like your child is reading drunk. So be careful about asking your child if they see reversals and expecting that to be a diagnostic tool, because that could just very well be their normal if they don't know anything else. Skipping lines or words when they are reading or mistaking a letter or word for a similar one can all be signs that there is weak visual processing. If your child also has difficulty with tasks like learning to tie their shoes, crossing their midline, meaning touching their left hand to their right shoulder and so forth, if they tend to tilt their eyes a bit or they close one eye when they're reading, if they tilt the page or they tilt the book to read, if they skip lines, words, or entire sentences when reading, and often they don't even notice if they reverse or misread letters or words. This can all be a sign that they have poor visual processing. So also consider this if your child has difficulty distinguishing one letter or word from another, or if they have difficulty copying sentences from a book or the board. So this can be a sign of weak saccadic eye movements, which means your child struggles to accurately move their eyes from one target to the next. So children with weak saccadic eye movements might also have a slower reading speed. They might lose their place when they are reading, and they may need to use their fingers to help them stay on target. So letter sequences might also become jumbled. So for example, the word help becomes HLEP and the word ants becomes gnats. And lastly, issues with coordination and balance, frequently falling or bumping into things, and even poor penmanship are all signs of underlying issues with visual processing and vestibular function. So this is why it's not uncommon for these kids to be diagnosed with dyspraxia and dysgraphia or all these other multiple diagnoses we're seeing. So if you suspect your child has poor visual processing, there are countless ways to improve this at home. So simple exercises like connect the dots, mazes, word searches, find what's different or find what's missing, all help to improve that visual discrimination as well as improving eye tracking and eye teaming. Other ideas to have your child improve this at home is have them just search for all the letter E's or all the letter A's and to highlight them in a text, or to have them find a particular word, a high frequency word that we tend to see it, that appears often in even one paragraph, like the word and or the word the or the word it. Games like marbles, ball toss, rolling a ball from left to right even will improve their eye tracking, having them blow bubbles and then follow the bubbles and then pop it and so forth. So as always, you can find these exercises in detail on my website. And so if you suspect your child has weak visual processing or you are concerned they may have a learning or behavior disorder, then take the quiz on my website to learn more about your child, where their areas of need are, and what you can do to help them at home so that they can be more successful and feel more confident. Have a great day, and thanks for listening.